Anvil have been around for over 40 years and will release their 19th studio album soon. Time to look back on the previous 18. The beautiful Polly helps me with the presentation of some covers today. The weakest Anvil album of the 80s. The album just couldn't cope with the heaviness of its legendary predecessors. The title already sounds like they have to convince themselves, but I'm sorry, there are definitely many Anvil albums going stronger than this. Listening to all the albums again for this ranking, this is one I hardly remember the song from. It was released in 2004 and I rarely played it since then, because there are better choices to make if you want to play Anvil. The latest album from 2020 is an average album in my view. The songs I like best are Chemtrail, I'm Alive, Bottom Line and No Time. My memory of this album is that it was in 2001, the first time I did a long interview with Lips. I had the opportunity to discuss every song on the album with him. The quintessence was that after the Fast Speed of Sound album, Anvil wanted to slow down to groovier rock and roll songs. Plenty of Power is okay, but none of the top 10. Apart from rock and roll and thrash metal, Anvil also had doom influences in their music. Forged in Fire showed that already. The creepy title track of This Is 13 is another impressive example. From the fast songs, I like Flying Blind most of all. With 14 songs, the album is a bit too long, with a few average numbers that could have been cut in my opinion. Kicking off with the pirate song Daggers and Rum, good fun to listen to. The tour for this album, when they supported Udo Dirkschneider, was also very enjoyable. The fifth Anvil album from 1988, with songs like Blood on the Ice and Fire in the Night, pound for pound proved that Anvil were still the same band who had written metal on metal, although it was not strong enough to push them on the next level. One memory I have from the tour for this album in 1997 is that we were filming one gig at Offenbach when Lips announced the next song, Show Me Your Tits, and the young lady who did second camera for me left the hall because she felt it was a bit too offensive. Let's just say Anvil are sometimes not very subtle, and this is one of their dirtier albums. Which leads me to... first Anvil LP I ever owned. I didn't buy it when it came out, for even I was too young then, but a few years later I picked it up at a second-hand shop. Hard and Heavy in 1981 couldn't be speed metal yet. Instead you hear influences from 70s glam rock, but it remained a very listenable album. Worth the Wait, the sixth album from 1991, followed by a European tour with Titan Force. Anvil had contributed to the start of the speed and thrash wave of the 80s, but now the 90s had begun and new genres like death metal took over. Anvil tried to develop into slightly more complex songs with new guitarist Sebastian Marino, who later joined Overkill. Tracks like Embalmer, Love Me When I'm Dead or Bush Pig are still impressive today. Good album. Nanook of the North and Bitch in the Box have interesting lyrical subjects. Anvil can be really original in that department. Released in 1996 at the height of the grunge wave, when everybody wanted to be a sophisticated musician and do unplugged sessions, but Anvil just didn't care and continued with a brand of speed and thrash. And the fans loved them for it. It had been 5 years since the predecessor Worth the Wait, the longest break ever in Anvil's discography. With Smokin' Green, Anvil's biggest hit of the 90s is included, and they sound meaner than ever before in Racial Hostility, for example. Hope in Hell has some dark stuff like the title track and The Fight Is Never Won, as well as some good time rock and roll songs like Flying Around the World and Shut the Fuck Up. Fire at Will and Through With You with its dinosaur riff are also among my faves. Hope in Hell just has everything you want from an Anvil album. On this album the slow tunes are the best, like the title track, The Menacing Paranormal and New Orleans Voodoo. You'll find good fast songs like Running and On Fire too. Altogether, Juggernaut is one of the less predictable records of the band. It remains interesting after many spins. And would you believe me that the last track is an instrumental with jazz trumpets? As the title suggests, Anvil intended to make their fastest album here. It is bursting with energy. Extremely fast songs like the title track or No Evil are combined with the sinister Blood on the Playground or the tongue-in-cheek Mattress Mambo, which brings back memories of the debut album. Great record. Metal on Metal, a very close second. It was difficult to decide. Forged in Fire is slightly more round than Metal on Metal, maybe with a stronger B-side. Considering the band anthem The Anvil was forged in fire, I put that on number 1, but both albums are a must anyway. If you haven't got some of the other Anvil albums, I hope this feature helped you a bit to decide which ones to check out first. See you next time around.